Hello YouTube, I'm Matt from Vendor Trash Games, and today I'm going to be talking a little bit about what went into the making of our debut game, Beyond the Clouds. Back in October of 2022, Darren contacted me asking if I wanted to make a game with him. We decided to make a multiplayer horror game, but making games was new to me and I'd barely even scratched the surface of what Unreal Engine could do. So we began piecing together some ideas and some game mechanics which we wanted to include. I pretty much just focused on creating UI elements like menu systems, lobby systems, and so on. And I actually learned a lot about creating and joining multiplayer sessions. We had some really cool features in the early production of the horror game. Things such as door peepholes, an objective system, and a cool interaction system. With these, we started to connect them to form puzzles, such as how to escape the first room the player spawns in, and then we moved on to creating some horror level sequences. But after working on the project for a while, we both realized that developing a multiplayer game was probably a bit more than we could handle. So we decided to trash the project. Just kidding. We just shelved the project for the time being and decided that it was best if we explored another genre of game. It was Darren that came up with the initial idea for Beyond the Clouds. He sent me a prototype that he'd put together, and it was clear that this was a project that was more reasonable for us to see through. We wanted the game to focus on parkour movement and be challenging, if not frustrating at times. We didn't want it just to be a game that could easily be finished in just a couple of hours. So we really took a lot of inspiration from games such as Mirror's Edge, Jump King, Getting Over It, and Only Up. With a clear idea of the type of game we wanted to create, we began production in June 2023. We spent a great deal of time putting together numerous obstacles which were designed to allow the player to gain elevation but not always have a clear path to take. And once we had a good enough parkour system in place, I put together a short tutorial level to practice these movements. This level became my main focus for a while, whilst Darren worked on creating other obstacles. I even added video instructions of how the movements worked in the game for players to learn before attempting to take on the main game. But even though we had a somewhat good parkour system in place and plenty of obstacles, we still needed a good environment to put it all in. We already knew we wanted a tall central monolith for players to ascend, but we wasn't sure on which type of environment to place it in. So we started putting together some concept ideas and agreed on some foreign, desolate planet covered mainly by water. Once we had our concept set, it was just a case of strategically placing our obstacles around it. To be honest, I thought this would be the easiest part, but it turned out to be one of the most time-consuming parts, and we were forever going back and forth changing placement of certain obstacles or switching them out completely for other ones. But we eventually got there. We also wanted to include some puzzles for players to solve on the way, so we spent some time thinking about these, piecing them together, and putting these in our level. We even went back and changed the overall designs of some of the obstacles so that they just fitted our world a little better. The last thing we needed to do to finish our world was to come up with some type of aesthetic, as it was getting quite boring just looking at grey blocks all the time. We had previously agreed to keep the aesthetic simple and minimalistic, so we came up with a fitting colour palette and post-process, and then we got busy colouring in all of our blocks. However, this did mean that I needed to revisit my tutorial level and change all of the materials there. But I did think the change was worth it in the end. And with that, our world was complete. The only thing left to do now was to replace the default Unreal Engine mannequin. And what a headache for Darren this turned out to be. But he eventually got there, and we had a working character without any broken limbs. All was good and done until... Ah yes, errors, a screen I became quite familiar with when working on my own blueprints. So, we now had to spend some time going through all of our errors, fixing them and adding some final touches. Things such as cinematics, level sequences, and even adding a menu system. And in just under 1 year, Beyond the Clouds was born. Having worked on this project really gave me the opportunity to learn a lot about what goes into making a game. And as my first game, it is something I am proud to have been a part of. Overall, it was a really enjoyable experience, and I really look forward to working on another game. Anyway, thank you all for watching, and please hit that like and subscribe button if you would like to see more content like this from us in the future. And until then, take care everyone.